Hi y'all, today I'm gonna make some seitan. I don't do a lot of cooking here because I'm not an awesome cook, but I like to do it. If you don't know what seitan is, it is a meat substitute that's made from gluten. I use it in sandwiches, curries, tacos, meatballs. It's definitely my substitute of choice besides tofu. I do love tofu, and that's actually another substitute that I make myself. There's a few reasons I like making it as opposed to buying it. First of all, it's a lot cheaper. You can make it with just flour and water and whatever spices you have laying around. And sometimes when you buy from the store, it can be upwards of $10. Sometimes it's not that much, but it definitely can be. And that's just a wee bit pricey. I also like that I can customize it to taste like whatever I want it to taste like. Sometimes I use a poultry seasoning. Sometimes I use lots of spices and make it taste like chorizo. I'm no longer limited to what's available at the store. And of course, there's a lot less packaging and plastic than the store-bought kind comes in. But it is a bit of a process. It takes a while. Not that it's hands-on for very long, but you have to let it sit for a while. You have to let it simmer for a while. It takes a good few hours. And I know not everybody has that kind of time, so there are a lot of great store-bought options as well. And you know, there is always tofu that is a lot cheaper. So today, I'm gonna make two different kinds. One is the like viral TikTok just flour and water version, and the other one is a version that I make with Vital Wheat gluten. You can find it a lot of times, the Bob's Red Mill kind is what I see at grocery stores pretty often, just like regular grocery stores in the baking section. And I just found out that my zero waste store has Vital Wheat gluten now, and I am so jazzed. That means even less packaging. I really am very privileged to have that. I really am. Anyway, it went viral recently on TikTok. Everyone's been talking about it, which is cool, but it is also important to remember that this is not a new recipe. Seitan dates back to 6th century China. It's been around for a really long time. I'll link the recipes that I have adapted in the description box. I'm also gonna link this really good chorizo kind that I used in tacos the other night. And that one is actually a really quick recipe. It only took me like 20 minutes to make. You don't have to let it sit or steam or anything. You just crumble it up with your fingers and make like a ground chorizo sausage. So good. Anyways, without further ado, let's get into it.
All right, here is method number 1, the flour and water method, aka the TikTok method. So we're gonna start out with just 3 cups of flour and 1 cup of water. And we're just gonna mix it up until it becomes a ball. It'll take a wee bit of time. But then you're going to just cover it with cold water. And let it sit for between 1 and 6 hours, just so that the gluten forms. And then comes the muscly part. You're going to knead the dough underwater until the water is no longer cloudy and it looks a bit stringy. So every time the water kind of gets white, you're gonna dump it out, add some more cold water, continue to knead, and this will take you quite a few goes. You can already see it starting to get stringy. Honestly, I probably could have done it a little bit more, but I got a little tired. And then once you're done kneading, you're just gonna let it sit and drain for about a half an hour. And then you're gonna add your spices. I just put in some poultry spices, some onion powder, some garlic powder, and then I just kneaded it a little bit more into the dough, and then we're gonna let it sit in its own spices for another half hour or so, up to an hour. And then we're just gonna shape it into little patties, little bundles, however you wanna do it. Some people braid it, some people just twist it up like I'm doing. Then we're gonna take each one and put it in a pot with a little bit of oil just to brown the sides. Once both sides are browned, we are going to add broth. You can add water as well, it just won't be quite as flavorful, and then we're going to let it simmer for 2 hours. They're going to grow a little bit, but they will be all cooked and ready to eat. Honestly, these weirdly have the texture of chicken breast to the point where it freaked me out the first time I ate it. Method number 2, this is the Vital Wheat Gluten method. So I'm taking 1 cup of Vital Wheat gluten, putting that in a big bowl, and then I'm going to add, you can add whatever spices you like. I added a 1/4 cup of nutritional yeast, a teaspoon of garlic powder, a teaspoon of onion powder, and some thyme. Oh, and paprika. I mixed that up a bit, and then I added 3/4 cups of vegetable broth. This broth is some that I made from veggie scraps a while ago. That's why it's in an applesauce container. And I added a tablespoon of soy sauce. And I just mixed that up until it became firm and stretchy. And then I attempted to shape it into a square rectangular patty. I made it about 1 inch thick, and then back in that pan I used earlier, I'm putting in 2 cups of broth and 2 cups of water, a tablespoon of soy sauce, and then I put in a tablespoon of brown sugar. Let that come to a boil, and then I plopped in my seitan brick and let it cook in there for about 1 hour. I flipped it a couple times, and this guy will get pretty huge. He's gonna about double in size. And once it's done, I just let it cool in the broth and then brought it out and sliced her up. This one has a bit firmer of a texture, and it definitely tastes and feels more like the store-bought kind. This is more what I like to use on sandwiches, but honestly, both are great.
And that's how I've been making my seitan. Again, I'll link those recipes below, as well as the chorizo one that I highly recommend you check out. If you have any questions, I can try to answer them. Again, not a professional chef, but I do like to cook. I do it pretty much every day. I'm always looking at new recipes. Baking is my real passion. Maybe I'll make some cupcakes today. Anywho, until next time, bye y'all.